everybody, welcome to the latest episode of Hey Kerwin, episode number 47. Now, some fun facts about 47. The number 47 is actually the number 4 and the number 7 side by side. There's a fun fact you probably didn't know. Did you know that, Matthias?
I had no idea.
Most people don't. We're actually doing it Hey Kerwin live. Hey Kerwin number 47, we're doing it live. We've got Jojo in the house.
What's up? All right, first
Question number 1.
David Narrator.
Oh, David Narrator. He should be a speaker.
Should.
Sorry.
What's the best way to change a belief or thought pattern?
Well, to me, a belief is a thought pattern, often a recurring one that's been present for an extended period of time to the point where it's almost created like this dominant network of neurons that filter the way that we perceive reality and life. And the way that you shift any neurons, the way that you change any belief or thought process is you start with the programming and you look at the communication system that is going in, because what you put in fundamentally determines what comes out. And a belief system is something that comes out. The way that we program our brain is actually through language. Now, those thought processes, the things that you think about, are often looping language, are often self-hypnotic prophecies, auto-suggestion in Napoleon Hill's language. But what's most important to shift your beliefs is becoming very conscious and switching the lights on and shining the torch. This isn't a torch. Oh, this looks like a torch. Shining the torch on your thinking, because when you start to hear and you start to listen to the words that are rolling around in your head on a repetitious basis, you start to realize that there's often a pattern. But you also start to realize that it is there's a certain subconscious and borderline conscious level of choice on the words that we repeat to ourselves on a consistent basis. And if you've identified at a conscious level that your beliefs aren't servicing you or limiting you in some way, then you need to repattern those beliefs. And the way that you repattern those beliefs is by telling new stories. And you start consciously choosing different statements, consciously choosing different suggestions, constantly choosing different specific commands that you want to suggest to yourself on a repetitious and secular basis over and over and over and over again, to the point where they start to grab. And this is the thing with language, like when you start to suggest something to yourself, I do this example in Nail It and Scale It, and in Nail It and Scale It, I give this suggestion, and I give this suggestion about 35 to 37 times. But what's interesting is anywhere between 50 to 70% of the room are literally affected by that suggestion by the very next morning. So it's not that there requires an enormous level of suggestion in order to change a belief, but if you're looking for a situational belief to become circumstantial, so if you're looking for a belief that affects you in certain situations to become pervasive, then there's got to be a ritualistic nature to the way that you program your brain, even your brain. And by ritualistic, I mean like sit down and actually write down the commands that you're looking for, but by virtue of those commands or those statements becoming true, then the belief systems that you need for that statement to become true will cause the consequence or the automatic behavior that is what you're looking for. And so this is where, for me, I'm very much about deliberate construction. Very carefully construct the program that you want to basically enter into your brain. That will fundamentally start to naturally and organically shift the beliefs. Your beliefs are your filters. The code is what we put in. The beliefs are what determine what things mean once we put it in there. And at first, depending on what your belief systems are, the stuff that you're putting in there might actually be in conflict with some of those beliefs. And so you have to maintain, you have to be consistent, you have to repeat, you have to be ritualistic in nature to the point where it starts to stick. And then all of a sudden, your beliefs will start to shift. And before you know it, your filters will change and you'll see things that you've never seen before. Much like the salt. Because one of the things that we've got to understand is our beliefs create scotomas, and our scotomas are a psychologically induced blind spot. And oftentimes in life, we go through life looking for things, whether it be a partner, a feeling, or an emotion or money, but we can't see what we want. And the reason why we can't see what we want is our limiting beliefs not only limit our potential, but they also limit our scope of, sensual acuity. Sensory. There we go. Somebody needs to get out more. Sensory acuity. And as a result, your sensory acuity determines what you can't see. For example, you open the cupboard, you're looking very quickly, you say to yourself, can't find the salt. And even if the salt is there, by that pure suggestion, it can literally wipe it out from what you see consciously. And then all of a sudden you yell out to your partner, hey honey, where's the salt? They say it's in the cupboard. You say, no, it's not. They say, yes, it is. You say, no, it's not. Then they wander over and they say, so what's this, bozo? It was right in front of you. And you're like, I swear to God, it wasn't there before. Now, whether it be the salt, the car keys, our sunglasses, we've all experienced, scotoma in some way way, shape, or form that we've had a bit of a giggle about. But most people aren't aware that an ideal partner can be a scotoma if you believe that there are no good people out there. Money can become a scotoma if you believe that there is no money in the world and there's nothing but lack. Customers can become a scotoma if you believe that there are no customers around and the economy is terrible. It's just becoming conscious of the way that our language affects our beliefs that determine what we see that ultimately affect the consequences in our life. So become more conscious, tune into what you say, become conscious, become deliberate, become, surgical, and you can change anything. Kapow.
Okay, Emma.
Hey, Emma.
She says, "Hey, Kerwin, where do I start to create a new relationship with my 9-year-old daughter when our foundation is shaky?"
Start where you are, I find one of the best things to do in any relationship is to start where you are and to take a long and extensive moral inventory and perhaps start on a blank canvas by wiping the initial canvas clean. And one of the best ways to wipe a canvas clean is through personal responsibility and open, honest communication. So if you would like to start a new relationship with your 9-year-old daughter, my advice would be is sit down with your daughter and perhaps discuss the relationship to date. And don't discuss all the things that she's done wrong, okay? Create an environment where that might happen naturally and consequentially, where you sit there and you start to talk about all the things perhaps that you feel you may have done wrong, and don't talk about them in a way where you're trying to justify them or blame or distort reality. Just be open and honest. Say, look, I've made a lot of mistakes. Here are some of the things that I've made mistakes about. And again, I have an incredible relationship with my son, but even when I make mistakes, which I do from time to time, and in some cases on a regular basis, I'll sit down and say, buddy, look, I just want to say, Daddy's actually really sorry that he did that. And my son and I have this thing now where we can sit down and talk about things. He's only almost 5. And I'll say to him, buddy, I know Daddy may have yelled at you before, and I just want you to know Daddy shouldn't have yelled at you, and Daddy's actually really sorry. And I hope you can forgive me. And it's at a point now where he goes, it's okay, Dad, I understand. It's okay, Dad, I get it. And it's just like, dude, thank you, I appreciate that. And depending on his intellectual comprehension of exactly what's going on, I'm not too sure. But what he does know is he knows the practice. And now what we find when he does things that he perhaps shouldn't do, I don't have to sit there and tell him not to do them. He'll actually come to me and say, Daddy, you know that thing that I did before? And I'll say, yeah, I know that thing you did before. He goes, I just want to say I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done it. And I hope you can forgive me. And whether you're judging me now by the fact that I say, I hope you can forgive me and forgiveness isn't required or it is required, what's interesting now is he adopts that behaviour. But it creates a very open framework for not only that transference of communication, but also the demonstration of responsibility and accountability. Because in my world, what good people do is they apologise when they fuck up. In my world, what good people do is when they fuck up, they try and make amends. And to me, that's why I try and demonstrate to my son is when I fuck up, I try and act like a good person and do the things that a good person will do. And not only does he, have a lot more tolerance for not only me but for other people, but he's also adopting those behaviours as well, and they're becoming his own. So start from scratch, but start from where you are. Don't try and go, well, let's just pretend nothing happened, and today we're going to start a new day, and we're just going to pretend that it all none of that stuff ever happened before, and we're just going to start anew. Forget that stuff, because kids don't forget; they remember, and we're the ones that fuck most of the kids up. And most issues that adults are dealing with in their adult life are issues that their parents created. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's in most cases how the world works, and that's our responsibility as parents. Is in many cases to help them do whatever work is required to overcome whatever issues that they've got that we may have perhaps brought into their life. And a great way to do that is through open and honest communication, open and honest vulnerability, open and honest accountability and responsibility, and just showing kids what it looks like to be wrong, to apologise when you're wrong, and to actually take account for the things that you shouldn't have done, so that they can actually go, wow, I felt that was wrong, but you've always fought to say that you were right, and now that I know you're wrong, it actually feels right. Like the level of connection you can create just with that moment could be epic. So go for it. Don't muck about. Make it right.
Next question is from Giacomo.
Giacomo.
Yeah, it says
Giacomo. Giacomo.
Whatever you said.
Yeah.
How do you make people step up inside your organization?
How do you make people step up inside your organization? There was Catherine the Great once said, the way that I influence, I can't remember, I'm quoting here. No, I'm fucking sub-paraphrasing here. Someone asked her about how she was so, influential. And she basically said something to the effect that I only get those to do that which they would already do. And what I mean by that is the way that you get people to step up in any organisation, the way that you get anyone to step up in any area of their life is to start to help them correlate the connection between the thing that needs to be done, the thing that's very important to them and how that thing that needs to be done is going to allow the thing that's very important to them to be even better in their life. So if family is something that's important to them, how will doing this thing allow them to have more quality time with their family? And this is where like real motivation is intrinsic. It's something that's internal, but oftentimes it needs to be triggered by, in some cases, a bit of external direction or an external trigger. And so as a leader, one of our goals is not only to recruit the right people into the organization and in most cases have the ability to self-lead and self-manage, but it's also the ability to make sure that we take the time and spend the time and invest the time, either ourselves or the individuals that are key leaders in our group, to get to know the people in the organisation to find out what are the things that are important to them, what are the things that you value. Because when we look at the hierarchy of psychology, like there's 4 elements to a psychology. There's a coding system, there's a belief system, there's a value system, and there's an identity system. The coding system is based around stories, the stories that we put in on a regular basis, the auto-suggestion, the self-hypnotic suggestion. The next thing is that we have is the belief system. The belief systems are the filters. They're things that help us, eliminate the things that we have to be conscious of so our brain doesn't process so much information so it can stay regulated and stay calm. And the third thing is a part of our psychology is our value system. Now, our value system is also known as our motives. Now, our motives is the root word for motivation. So in order for someone to have a motivation, in order for someone to be motivated, they've got to have a motive. And when you look at what the root word of motive is, it's a reason. What is a reason or a why? As some, personal development gurus will tell you. Jim Rohn said himself, when the why is clear and big enough, the how is easy. And so when it comes to motivating anyone, it comes down to connecting them with why. Like, why should someone be motivated? Why should I be motivated? And sometimes there needs to be a conversation or direction or multiple conversations or an environment or a situation that helps that connection take place. But what I will say is to leap all the way back to the very beginning is the best way to motivate your team is to hire motivated people. That to me is the simplest and easiest way to do it. We always hire for attitude and train for skill. It's not that we're not interested in skills. Skills are very important to us. But one of the things that's more important to us is the attitude of the individual. And I'd much rather hire someone who's got less skills but a better attitude than someone who's got great skills but a shit attitude and a big ego. And so for me, half the battle is in hiring someone that's already self-motivated, already self-led, but then the next half there is being able to connect the things that you want them to do in your organisation with the things that are already important to them. Now, here's the key. If you've already hired well, guess what you've got? You've got people that are aligned with your purpose. They're aligned with your mission. And they're also, guess what? They're aligned with your values. Excuse me, I've got a runny nose. Now, when you're hiring someone that's aligned with your values, guess what? You have the same value system. They have similar value system. What's a value system? It's a set of motives. I know. Surprise, surprise. So when you hire someone that's aligned with your values, then they're naturally motivated by the things that you do in your organisation, because the things that you do in your organisation, they should be your values, because they're the things that you do well. They're the things that become the benchmarks for behaviour. And so for me, as I said, half the battle is in hiring someone that's already motivated, and the other 25% of that battle is making sure that whoever you've hired is already motivated, is motivated by the same values you are. And the third aspect, or the last 25% of it, is making sure the connection is clear. As a leader, do you have the ability to understand the individual that you're communicating with and be able to create that conscious connection between the individual and the organisation's mission, the organisation's values, the organisation's priorities, the things that you want them to do, so that they can see a clear connection and are naturally motivated to do what you want them to do, and they don't need a fucking jumpstart every fucking morning, with a cup of cacao or whatever it is that they need, and they don't need a red wine at the end of the day because they're so stressed because they're doing shit that they hate. So that's the best advice I can give you. Hope that helps.
We're gonna kick it to the live question.
Gonna kick it to the live. Kicking live. Kicking live.
I got one already, actually.
Oh, wow. That's fast.
I know. Simon Cook.
Cook.
Yep.
Cook or cook?
Well,
Simon Cook or Simon Cook?
Cook.
Cook.
Yeah.
Kooky. Kooky Steve. You making fun of Steve? Wow. That's just
All right.
wrong.
Simon Cook. High performance. High performance has been thrown around quite a bit these days.
Yes.
What does Kerwin Ray believe a high-performing person encumbers?
Oh, high performance is the ability to execute at a level beyond what would be considered normal, sustainably, from both an energetic, emotional, and a stress perspective, and enjoyably, which is basically how do you perform better than anyone else and enjoy it. but how do you perform better than anyone else and sustain it? And how do you perform better than anyone else? And you can do it without it basically putting you into some kind of a nosedive, either from a stress perspective or an emotional perspective, because you're burning yourself out. And you're right, yeah, high performance is something that is getting thrown around more and more and more and more. And I think the reason it's becoming thrown around more and more and more and more is because people are starting to realize the productive nature of performance. They're starting to realize the ROI of performance. You know, all you've got to do is look at, you know, some of our K2 Elite clients. One of the things that we teach them, because to me, there are so many aspects of performance, and one of the aspects of performance is being able to, you've got the physical aspects of high performance, and then you've got the practical aspects of high performance, you've got the strategic aspects of high performance, you've got the tactical aspects of high performance. You know, if you look at some of the strategic aspects of high performance, it's having the ability to plan. You know, and you know, the planning methodology, as an example, that we use in our K2 Elite, on average, our clients experience, you know, increase in personal productivity by 200 to 600%, which means on average 400%, which means 1 day's worth of work can become 4 days worth of work. 1 week's worth of work can become a month's worth of work. 1 month's worth of work can become 3 months worth of work. That's fucking high performance, bro. You know, but that's a strategic aspect of high performance. You know, then you've got the physical aspects of high performance. Is, you know, are you actually nurturing both nutritionally, hydrationally, cellularly, psychologically, you know, the aspects that are required, you know, emotionally, biochemically, supplement-wise, you know, there are so many aspects to it. But the reason I think performance is becoming, you know, such a high value target, you know, in the world of not just business, but in the world of obviously sport, in the world of parenting, basically in any world where people are trying to become better, is because it's got huge ROI. Because when you become better, it becomes easier. And I think when you look at the ultimate goal of high performance, it's to create flow states where you essentially are able to do things in most respects from what looks like on the outsides in an effortless nature. There's a great book actually that I've just read called Stealing Fire. I can't remember the author, but it sent me on a really interesting journey so far, which I'm very impressed with. That talks about the three elements of, or the three different things that can actually, you know, hook you into a flow state. It's essentially the last 20, 30 years of performance research into performance. And they talk about technology and how technology is playing a huge role now in helping us with performance and drop into performance states. Everything from, you know, smartwatches to the God helmet to these devices that can basically emit, you know, a pulse of electromagnetic energy that can offset the frontal lobes, that can give you direct access to your subconscious and allow you to drop into flow states. You know, you've got mystical aspects of flow states and mystical aspects of performance where people use meditation, chanting, and even different forms of, you know, prayer in order to access flow states and high performance. And then you've got the pharmacological side of flow states as well in performance, where people are now into nootropics and psychedelics and looking at many other different ways that they can increase performance in healthy and happy ways. You know, in interesting ways as well. So to me, I think performance is one of those things that has many aspects to it. There's many layers. Stealing Fire is a great book that, you know, talks about those three aspects. But for me, performance is like a thumbprint. Every individual is going to be different, and I don't think what I prescribe for myself to achieve high performance is going to be the same prescription I'd give to everyone else. But what I will say is it's going to become bigger, and that's what's interesting. It's a major focus for me, but it's only in the last couple of years become a focus that I've externalized, because for me, my performance has always been really rooted in how do I get the best out, how do I get the most, how do I perform at the highest level, then how do I teach my clients in business, and now it's a core part of our work, because, you know, when we look at the performance that we're able to induce, not just in our clients, but also people from just watching a 60-second video, yeah, it's a core part of my spiel now. So, yeah, high performance.
Two final questions from Facebook. First one is from Shad Watson.
Chad or Shad?
Shad.
Chad.
Hey, Kerwin.
Shad?
Shad.
Shad.
Isn't it dangerous to bring your guns to work every day? Next question is from Kathy Stewart.
Hey, Kathy.
She says, hey, Kerwin, from Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah. What's the best way to get a guy who is insecure come out of his shell and have more self-confidence when he's talking to a girl he likes?
Practice. Get him to do things that he's naturally good at already. Get him to do it on a regular basis so he builds confidence. Get him to start doing things that he's not so good at, but have a low threshold for comprehension. i.e. teach him something new that's not too difficult, that will naturally build confidence, and then put him into a situation where he has to speak to, loads and loads and loads of different people. So, the way that I build confidence in anyone is, there's a few approaches. There is the external psychological way, where you start giving people compliments and suggestions, and start suggesting on a regular basis the things that you want to see in them, but you just suggest them as an observation. Matthias, you're looking very confident today. Matthias, you're looking so strong. Matthias, you look very handsome. Matthias, I really love the way that you communicate. Matthias, you're so influential. Like those sort of things that can help build confidence. You've then got the things that are of more of a practical nature, where Matthias, come and let's go and build a puzzle together. Oh, you've never done a puzzle before? Let me show you how to do it. It's not so hard, but I'll show you the pointers, and once you've done it a couple of times, and I then show Matthias how to build a puzzle, and then before we know it, he's actually confident in something he's never done before. And I'd say, okay, let's go and do some, speed dating. Let's go to a networking conference, and let's have a specific goal of speaking to at least 10 women, and again, I don't want to, sometimes people go, oh, this is just chauvinistic and it's all about picking up chicks. No, some dudes legitimately are paralyzed by the idea of actually speaking to a person or a woman of the opposite sex. And I think, from my experience, the way that you overcome any fear is through exposure therapy. And so to me, you want to expose yourself to the thing that, that you freak out about on a regular basis. And the more you can do that, the more accustomed you will be to actually being able to regulate the biochemistry and neurochemistry that comes up when you're in those moments that trigger you. And then, then all of a sudden you start to bring a level of consciousness. So the first girl that you speak to and you introduce yourself to, she might think that you don't even speak English based on the level of conversation you have. But by the time you get to the 20th or the 30th girl that you're speaking to, by this stage you've had enough exposure to go, okay, now, I'm remembering to breathe now. Okay, I'm remembering not to pick my nose. Okay, I'm remembering not to say silly things or silly words. I'm remembering not to look, at below the shoulders. I'm looking them in the eye. And then you start to relax, and then you're able to start to converse, and then before you know it, you've got a bit of confidence in that area. Exposure therapy is a powerful force. Just put yourself in the situation that forces you to develop the skills, but also don't go in there empty-handed. A set of tools is also very helpful. So when you are in situations like that, making sure that you are conscious of the psychology, the stories that you're telling yourself, making sure you are conscious of any emotion that's in play, any stress that's in play, and then using the tools. Making sure that you're aware that you are stressed. Shit, oh my God, I'm freaking out. Okay, let's breathe. Let's not forget to breathe. Now, it might not be helpful if you're sitting there talking to a girl and go, what's your name? But you want to be making sure you're resetting yourself, breathing efficiently and effectively between conversations to help reset the autonomic nervous system, and making sure you breathe, controlling the meaning of the situations. You didn't just get rejected, you just built a little bit of strength, okay? You didn't just have a bad conversation, you just learnt some of the things that you shouldn't have said and developed some real gratitude for the process that you're on, and that'll help balance out the biochemistry as well. And just reframe it, you're doing something positive. It's a great opportunity. So making sure you're aware when you're stressed, breathe when you're stressed, control the meaning of the stressful stimulus. Just because you've got a rejection doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it made you a little bit stronger, made you a little bit wiser, taught you something not to say. And then develop a genuine level of gratitude for the things that you're doing that are producing the stress, so that you can actually, build some naturally flowing DHEA, which will counteract the cortisol and the adrenaline and help calm you out. Or alternatively, maybe a couple of valerian before you go in there, which is a herb that'll help you relax. Maybe that will help as well. But my advice is try and avoid using alcohol as a fake courage to do it, because otherwise then in every situation, you're going to have to be drunk in order to talk to chicks, and that is a great way to become an alcoholic. I want to find a chick. Well, I'll just drink every day. Yeah, not the smartest thing to do. So hopefully that helps, my friend. Hopefully that helps you find a chick. And if it works, let me know and I'll try it myself.
Right, we got 60 seconds left. We might be able to squeeze one last
Sure, 60 seconds. 60 seconds. Go on in 60 seconds. That's all it takes. Jan.
What do billionaires know and master to become so successful?
I am not a billionaire. Although I have interviewed a number of billionaires. I have studied a number of billionaires. And I've got an assumption. I don't know for a fact because I am not a billionaire. Although, when you look at, some of the greatest billionaires on this planet, one of the things that I would say that they have mastered is they've mastered what I would say is that complex equation between relationships and values. They have learned how to build, certain relationships to a level, both with themselves, with those around them, with their team, with their customers, okay, and they've learned how to deliver a level of value where people perform at such a height or at such a level that produces natural consequences, things like revenue and profit and those sorts of things. To me, there are so many variables to that question that I could really go off on as a tangent, but because I only got 60 seconds, I'll leave it with that. Those who know how to build relationships and deliver value will build strong relationships, because relationships are all based on value. And when I say value, I really mean values, the things that are important to people. And the way that we build relationships is by dropping ones and zeros into values baskets. So, if someone's interested in family and we're interested in family, we drop ones into their basket by communicating ones to them into their family basket. And as a result, they start to see, oh, they're like me, they like family too. We connect, we've got some common ground here. I like this person. I have a relationship with the person. I'm motivated by this person, and I'll follow instructions from this person. So if we can build relationships by understanding the importance of understanding values, both individual values, market values, economic values, and bridge those two together, you'll be able to create success beyond your wildest dreams. The only thing you really need on top of that is a really strong commercial model. But the way that we build strong relationships is by demonstrating value, and that value can be through a product, it can be through a service, or it can be through something that's actually important to someone. But these products or these services, oftentimes they are, in most cases, if not every case, they're affecting a value within the individual, which is something that is important to them. And the more we understand about that process, the easier it is to motivate, to inspire, to sell, to market, to do the things that we need to do to ultimately, I guess, become a billionaire. That's my assumption. But I'll let you know once I get there, if it still works.
47 over.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was episode #47 of the Hey Kerwin Show, live on Facebook. And down to you guys, if you have a question, #Hey Kerwin on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, fucking Twitter, and even skywriting, sign writing. You can even spray paint the sign out the front here. No one's still done it yet, but do not do that. Do not do that. I do want someone to do it though. But that being said, hopefully you have a question. The question of the day is, what is your number one motivation routine? What are the things that you do when you feel unmotivated to motivate yourself, to get yourself going in the morning? Hopefully that isn't a cup of coffee that you use, to turn the engine over, get the pistons firing, as they say, to help you meet the rubber, to help your rubber meet the road. Let me know. We'd love to know below. #Hey Kerwin. Until next time, merry, merry, ho, ho, ho. Happy, happy New Year. Go. See you soon. Say hi to your mum for me.